What's going on there, guys? Good afternoon. It's the Earthmaster here on this Thursday, August 25th, 2022 day. It's about 12:53 p.m. California time. Latest quake looks like a 3.3 earthquake down into the Chile area. South America region showing some activity over the last 24 hours. All right, first I want to jump into solar weather activity, kind of ramping up here overnight and this morning time frame. Noticing in a R1 radio blackout currently in progress from an M flare, which is kicking up here. There is the radio blackout showing, looks like just off the coast of Mexico. Seeing that intense high frequency radio blackout there, the D region absorption map. That's the prediction, DRAP. There is the current solar flare chart kicking up here. Notice since overnight we've seen a gradual increase here of the solar X-ray data really kicking up like popcorn, so to speak. This thing, sometimes when we see stuff like this, we tend to put in a good chance of an X flare. We'll have to take a look at these magnetic fields from the sunspots here in a little bit, but currently sitting at a low M category. Let me see what we got for the one-day data. It's still trying to peak out a little bit. We haven't reached a maximum from this current solar flare that's coming in right now, but we will hopefully by the end of this update video. Looking at the map right now, looks like it may be coming from a couple different sunspots here. This is the ones in question. Notice the brightness here, and that's kind of what we look for when we see flares popping off. So let's go ahead and check out the dynamics here real quick of the sunspots and see what we got. Got to make sure these are this is the updated map. It says updated August 25th, but sometimes this this one here doesn't show the correct data. This one's got to be the more recent one. All right, so let's see what we got. Yeah, a couple of those sunspots. The one that we're looking at is kind of down here. It is getting a little bit of complex fields mixing in here, and also a lot over here on this one. Not for sure what these numbers are currently, but we'll check that out here in just a second. Also up north, if you notice, this little spot here where the magnifying glass is, or the little feature right here, notice the color is very close together. Indicating a little bit of complex growth overnight in that sunspot, which is 3085. Now I'm sure this one is capable of definitely producing a, it looks like somewhat of a decent magnetic field. The current probability details, according to these guys, show 3088, 3089, and 3085. All capable of producing at least some good flaring. See what we got. 3085 looks like it's the most advanced one here. 3085 is going to be this one right here, kind of one that we were just chatting about, getting that complex mixing of the magnetic fields here on the sunspot. But looking at these other images here, though, kind of seeing which ones are sparking off that flare right now. The M flare, I'm guessing it's one of these two, but they kind of both look like they're putting off some flares at the same time, which is not unheard of. Kind of both of them are facing directly away from Earth, but still providing us with that high frequency radio blackout. So we'll watch it and see what it peaks out at. Currently it looks like an M 1.8 on the X-ray chart here. And I believe we still got this baby right here, coronal hole with a sunspot in it. We would have to check the more recent SDO data, which is pretty easy to do. Just got to go over to the SDO website, check out all their images here, and get the latest data. That coronal hole is starting to turn towards us along with that sunspot here. And that's something to watch, right? You can kind of see a little bit more of these solar flaring features popping up here from these two sunspots on opposite sides here. Let's see if I can get my mouse to work properly. There we go. So 3085 is our more complex one, and that is harboring, it looks like just, they have it updated. I don't know if they've updated it or not. It looks like a, it's only got a beta class, but I think it's got a little bit more complex class than that. And the one that I believe is sparking right now is currently unnamed, 3087, and it should be 3088, I believe, here on the map. That one's also harboring a beta magnetic class here. So either way, I think things are definitely ramping up, folks. I mean, looking at the solar X-ray chart here, haven't really seen this type of uptick in quite a while. So whatever's going on, it's going on quickly. So periods like this, we can see those strong M flares, and even a possibility of X flare once you start getting into these this step ladder type deal, kind of like popcorn in a way. Always refer this to popping some kernels there on the stove or in the microwave, sizzles for a little bit, and then pop, pop, pop. There we go. Get those M flares and X flares popping off there. All right, earthquake activity. Let's run over here real quick. Looking at the model here, no major uptick currently going on. We do see a little bit of movement out here around the Cascadia subduction zone, showing some activity overnight just off the coast of Northern California. Got one earthquake here, 2.5. This one coming in late last night off the coast of the Eureka area, 4.7 kilometers. Also down here, up here I should say, in the Gorda Plate, a 2.7 in the Ferndale area, well off the coast of Ferndale, but out there in the Gorda Plate. So a little activity ramping up here overnight. Also up into Washington, we're starting to see some more microquakes throughout the Cascades and at some of the volcanoes. Some activity around Mount Hood today as well. That is in Oregon. Kind of looks like that came in overnight, late overnight time frame. One of those at least right there on the summit of Mount Hood. We'll check out the seismograph stations there in just a little bit. That's a pretty shallow earthquake. Negative 1.6 at the summit. The rest of the data here, hopefully I don't lose my voice again. Rest of the data looking down south, a little bit of movement throughout Northern California, specifically right around the Clear Lake volcanic fields, also down south along the San Andreas Fault, but still kind of just not typical. I mean, this is still somewhat quiet in terms of earthquake activity around the eastern Sierra Nevada Ridgecrest areas, but down here, aside from all this other activity along the San Jacinto Fault Zone, we're noticing a little increase in cluster quakes, a little swarm, so to speak, around the Borrego Springs area. I got 26 earthquakes occurring. It is along the San Jacinto Fault Zone. It looks like the Coyote Creek Fault. It's one of the sections of the San Jacinto Fault. It is a pretty lengthy fault system. Runs up here just outside of the Fontana area. Kind of extends almost to the plate boundary, but it's a pretty lengthy fault system. A lot of people think this is going to be the new plate boundary between the Pacific and North American plate, but I'm not so sure of that yet. But either way, definitely a good swarm going on there. It looks like, far as the largest magnitude goes, a 3.3. That one coming in overnight time frame, and well, these are around there about 9-10 kilometers below the surface. So watching that area pretty closely. Sometimes swarms do lead to much bigger earthquakes, right? And then a lot of times here in Southern California, it's just you know, get these swarms, they come and go. But it is about 20 miles west of the southern segment of the San Andreas Fault. All right, looking inland into the Great Basin area of Nevada. Not a whole lot going on. Some scattered activity outside of Tonopah. Looks like about 10 earthquakes or so in that region. That's seen that 6-pointer here a couple years back. A little bit of movement up around Cedar, Utah, and not a whole lot going on throughout Montana, Wyoming, Idaho area. Most of the activity seems to be hugging the coastlines, or at least closer to the coast, a plate boundary area through Washington and Northern California, Southern California region. Texas, a couple earthquakes out there around Pecos. We got one earthquake here in the Steele, Missouri area, 2.2 kicking off earlier this morning. And the East Coast, pretty quiet out there. Not a whole lot going on today for earthquake activity. Southwestern portion of Puerto Rico looks very typical in their little swarm, ongoing swarm now. South America, of course, we've seen that activity in the 3 range for the magnitudes, but USGS not showing anything above the 4.0 threshold on the map. The Big Island of Hawaii, southeastern region, Pahala, still pretty active in their swarming, which is ongoing and will be continuing for a little while. I'm sure no major movement around Loihi Seamount. A little microquake activity, that one kicking off earlier this morning, it looks like. And a little activity around Mauna Loa and the Kilauea volcano. No major unrest or new eruption, I should say. Kilauea is still doing its thing. And we'll check out the Kilauea volcano update just for the heck of it and see if anything's changed, but I'm sure it hasn't. Latest update put out for the Kilauea volcano. Looks like that was put out this morning time frame. Still sits at a orange color code and alert level for watch. Some eruption of Kilauea volcano within the crater continued over the last 24 hours. All recent eruptive activity has been confined to the crater, and no significant changes have been observed at the summit or in either rift zone. So this has been an ongoing event for quite a few months now, with this eruptive stage and this statement. So no new updates as far as the volcano activity goes there at Kilauea. Some movement around the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, although this one here from yesterday, late afternoon time frame, haven't seen any renewed activity there yet. And same with this movement south here around Japan, northwestern portion of this Philippine plate. So really, technically, not a whole lot of new activity. If you want to check out the newest movement, it looks like late overnight it was this 4.7 down here in the Indonesia area. But there's definitely some 3s and some smaller quakes creeping, I should say, around here. Creaking, well, I guess that's one way to describe earthquakes, maybe, I don't know. But on the map, as far as 4.0 and above goes, definitely not a whole lot showing up there today. Most of the activity just kind of at a neutral timestamp currently. Let's go ahead and check out Yellowstone National Park here. Looks like that M flare peaked. We'll check that out here in a second. Thunderstorm activity around the evening time between 5 and 6 last night showing up here on the map. A lot of folks like to fearmonger that, saying that's magma movement. But if you look at the consistencies of the monsoonal moisture thunderstorms that move up here into this area late afternoon time frame, and look at a radar map and all the lightning strikes and thunderstorms in this region, when this is ongoing, it just coincides with one another. That's exactly what it is. And we see this time and time again every year, every summer, even in the wintertime when they get those brutal cold systems coming in from the north, a lot of wind and blowing snow. It tends to look like that on radar or on the seismograph station. So yeah, this not magma movement, no doom and gloom today, folks. Just some thunderstorms from last night. And watch, we'll see if we get thunderstorms again tonight. They'll pop up at the same time and look about the same. All right, tremor map from last night showed about, what do we got, 99 epicenters of tremor into the Northern California region there, southern end of the Cascadia. Not a big deal. It's definitely a little drop in the tremor department compared to the previous days. We'll go ahead and check out the volcano activity around Mount Hood. Let's see what we got. By the way, I will be pulling the live stream down today to install a cooling fan for my GPU unit, which went out. I had 2 of them go out here a couple days ago. So we're just kind of running on throttle for the quality of this live stream and videos. But so I'll be taking that down. Of course, I'll do an announcement before I do on the live stream. Just, I'm not going to pull the plug, but I'll let them know, let you guys know. Okay, so a lot of interference, and we get these interference up there as well. I don't know if this is ski lifts running. I don't know if it's heavy equipment, generators, something running. It's hard to tell on this graph. These right here kind of look like earthquakes there at Mount Hood. but it's hard to tell in the shadows of all that environmental noise. And that station right there is about the only one that's really close to the summit. We can check out maybe up here to the north and see what we got for the Mount Hood area. Barrett Spur is the name of the station. Let's see what we got here. This one doesn't quite show the noise, so see what I mean? On the other one that I showed you, it showed a whole lot of local interference. Now, if you think that was magma or some underground movement, that would be showing up on this station as well. So whatever that noise is that showed up on the other seismograph station there at Mount Hood is very localized, but also very noisy to the seismograph, but localized. This here doesn't show that. It shows just earthquake activity. And yeah, it looks like there's a couple small earthquakes around the Mount Hood area, very small microquakes. I'm counting probably 5 or 6 of them, possibly some of these other ones as well, these smaller quakes. So, and Mount Hood, far as the Mount Hood GPS stations go, I think we covered that here a while back, but we'll go ahead and double check that again just to see what we got going on. I'm really surprised they don't have a GPS station up here at the summit. That's kind of where I would put it, right? And I'm sure you can get up there. It's pretty accessible. Let's check out this GPS coordinate stations here. Kind of give us a general indication what we have. This here is going to be eastward movement, northward movement, and the uplift, vertical displacement of the volcano. And looking, and it's not abnormal to get these waves. Notice this swinging, so to speak, up, down, and then we're starting to go back on an uphill type deal with the lift of the volcano. It's not a huge lift by any means. These are MMs, and they're very minimal adjustments on that volcano. But it kind of looks like we're going just back up a little bit here. We follow that trend that's been ongoing for a little while. If we were starting to see a mega intrusion of magma or volcanic unrest, we would see this thing go pshoo, off the map, and it would be obvious. But this is very typical background standard levels, and that's kind of what's going on there. And sometimes we get these little earthquakes when they reverse back up. All right, let's check out that solar flare activity real quick here and see if it's peaked out. Looks like that peaked out at a 1.8 M1.8 magnitude, or not magnitude, but flare, M level flare. So watch this pretty closely though, folks, because notice these stepping stones here. Now that we're getting into the upper C flare category and lower M flares, that's when we could see these X flares pop off pretty quickly. So we'll be on watch throughout the rest of the day in regards to that. I still think there, see these right here? It's almost certain that these both blasted off a flare at the same time. They're starting to get that camera glare, so to speak, from both of these sunspots. But don't discredit this one, even though that's not popping any flares off right now. These two are, and they are definitely in sync with one another. The one that's inside the coronal hole is large, but we'll watch it. Not for certain if that's going to produce anything major or not, but right now these two are a little on the sparky and excited side to see the Earth in view and possibly give us a pretty large M flare, maybe an X flare. Right now, the chances remain at about 75% chance. Obviously, that should be a little bit higher, but again, this was probably updated this morning time frame. M flare at about 20% chance, X flare around 10, M flare around 20, X flare around 10. So we'll see how that plays out. Let's see what these guys are saying. Solar activity is increasing with multiple C flares. Most of the activity has been centered around two growing active regions, AR 3088 in the southwest quadrant and AR 3089 towards the southeastern limb. So those are those two flares, two sunspots. Both regions appear to be in a growth phase. Obviously, right? They're growing like two kids really quickly. My kids grew up really quick. Gotta watch those. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. It appears that both AR 3088, 3089 were producing a flare at nearly the same time. Awesome. Yeah, you can kind of see that there. A lot, you know, it's just kind of just for visual reference and future stuff. They pop off, and you can see these very bright features on this image here, on this channel, when it's sparking off a flare. Now the X flares, whoo, the X flares are pretty awesome looking. I think he's got an X flare image on here somewhere. I can't remember exactly how to get to it or not. Here is the solar cycle 25 progression. Just a little visual here that we are definitely way ahead in terms of the sunspot number and the solar flux progression here. According to the NOAA normally forecasts, the Space Weather Prediction Center forecasts the expected sunspots and the solar flux progression, which will peak out 2025, around that time frame. I believe around June, I think, somewhere around there. So we got a couple years to go before we reach the peak of solar maximum. But as you can see, we're like already ahead of schedule in terms of the sunspot number and also the solar flux progression. So this could be, I don't want to jinx it, I'm gonna knock on some wood. Could be a pretty awesome solar sunspot cycle here as far as the maximum goes. Alright guys, have a good day. Again, the live stream will be going down here once I get a time and a break in between schoolwork and whatnot to install a GPU fan. And again, I will announce it on the channel on the live stream before I pull the plug. And it'll probably take me maybe 20 minutes to install it, get everything back up together, and then fire back up the stream, and then we'll be good to go, hopefully with a couple brand new fans in there to keep everything running cool. I don't like smelling smoke early in the morning like that. Sometimes these cooling fans, you know, they're running 24/7 for 365 days a year. They burn out, you know, they just get old, they get tired. Once that happens, I definitely got to watch it and install something with good quality and make sure that doesn't happen for another year or two. Alright guys, stay safe out there. We'll chat you a little bit later tonight, and then of course the live stream will go down, and then I'll bring it back up. Chat you guys a little bit later. Peace out.